Months ago, I talked about the Toronto Raptors, and a lot of people seem to love that I discussed them and were saying, hey, this is a pretty underrated team. Well, if we fast forward about a couple months later, we can currently see that they're in the playoff race right now, and they have an opportunity to really do some damage in the playoffs. And I think a lot of people are doubting this team to actually do anything when it does come playoff time because of their low seed. However, I don't exactly think their seed represents how good of a team they are. They have one of the deepest rosters I know, and most importantly, I've seen a lot of potential from guys like Trent Jr. In today's video, I want to talk about the Toronto Raptors once again, and I want to discuss why I honestly think they're the most underrated team in the Eastern Conference. And I also want to say that you should be scared of this team, especially if you have to play them in the playoffs. Of course, before I get into the content, if you guys could leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new and notifications on. I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel by the end of the year, and your subscription would be greatly appreciated. Second and finally, I'm going to be streaming live on Twitch, twitch.tv/Spex. If you want to have a good time, you want to vibe, talk about basketball, watch some videos, I do try to stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, sometimes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I stream around 5 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, so if you guys could show up, I'd greatly appreciate it. And with all that being said, let's get into the video. In the last video, my primary take and the real reason why I even wanted to talk about this team was because of Trent Jr., who is my favorite player on the Raptors. And this season, while 18 points per game while shooting 41% from the field and nearly 38% from 3 might not seem the most impressive, however, the impact he brings on the court that you can't exactly track with stats is honestly very impressive to me, and he's one of the reasons why the Raptors have been so successful. And you guys know how much I love stats, and if we look at these advanced stats, for the first time in his career, he has a positive box plus minus. Oh, and my favorite advanced stat to use, PER, he has a good 14.9 of it, which just like all of his other stats, he's having a career high year in. I mean, to be fair, it seems like this whole season is filled with nothing but a career high. And what's scary about this team is the fact that he's not even their best player. Now, I know Raptor fans could probably debate this with me, and that's okay, but they have so many players that you could argue is their best. While Trent Jr. is my favorite Raptor to watch, and I definitely have been enjoying him, he's not exactly their best. And I'm not saying that like that's a bad thing, it's just that they have one of the deepest rosters in the NBA. Now, statistically, there's no clear-cut winner. I mean, two players that have definitely come to mind are VanVleet and Pascal Siakam. However, it's close to a tie. But I don't exactly want to go on just statistics and analytics for me to prove who I think is their best player. So if you were to ask me who someone that is a casual Raptors fan, as I just simply can't watch them all the time, I gotta give it to VanVleet. I feel like VanVleet is one of the more underrated players in the NBA, and I definitely feel like he's a guard that we don't talk about a lot despite him being an NBA All-Star this year. Which, by the way, shout out to VanVleet for doing that. Again, just like Trent Jr., he is having a career high year, averaging 21 points per game, about 7 assists, and 4.6 rebounds, while amassing a 41% field goal percentage, while shooting 39% from 3. Having a guy like VanVleet that you can trust in the clutch situations, when you have a guy that can really shoot the ball, just overall a guy that's good at facilitating the ball, running the offense, all different types of things. The fact that the Raptors got him and he was undrafted at one point is insane to me. This man is so damn talented, and I loved watching him, especially in the 2019 NBA Finals. Also, does anyone think he looks like Drake? I'm not the only one that thinks this, right? Like I've been saying in this whole video, I think one of the reasons why the Raptors have been so damn successful is because of their depth, and I don't necessarily mean just their players that a lot of you guys might know, guys like Scotty Barnes and Pascal Siakam, obviously Trent Jr. and VanVleet, but even some guys on their bench with guys like Chris Bouchard, even guys like OG Anunoby and Thaddeus Young, even with a defensive-minded player like Precious Achiuwa. I fucked up that pronunciation, didn't I? While they don't have the most stars on their team and guys that a lot of traditional NBA people, or just overall, I guess, NBA fans in general would immediately recognize, their talent is undeniable, and I think we can all say that. Just like the guy who I think should be winning Rookie of the Year. Out of all of the Rookie of the Year candidates, I think Scotty Barnes was the one guy I had no idea would even be in the running for Rookie of the Year. I said this in the last Raptors video when I talked about them, but when it came to Scotty Barnes on draft day, I didn't know who he was, and I said that Jalen Suggs should play for the Raptors instead of him. And oh boy, how wrong I was, because Scotty Barnes is gonna win Rookie of the Year, and I mean, he's played like the best rookie all year long. And a matter of fact, if VanVleet didn't play as good as he was, I honestly might say Scotty Barnes is the second best Raptor currently. Again, this is hard for me to say because I know a lot of Raptors fans are gonna say, oh, I think Gary Trent Jr. is the second best. I think it should be Pascal or Chris Bouchard for some whatever reason. I also love the fact that Scotty's game is different. He can play with an explosive engine. He can play like a version of Magic Johnson and Kawhi Leonard because he's not only really good at defense, but I think we have to notice that he's a good playmaker. He's also someone that can score at will if you need him to get a bucket. Scotty Barnes may be one of the younger players on this team, however, he does play like a vet. In these upcoming years, he's only going to develop, he's only going to get better, and I think Raptors fans have something to be excited about. And you know, if we're going to talk about smart moves made by the Toronto Raptors, then I need to dedicate 1 minute of this video to Masai Ujiri. This man is arguably the best executive in the NBA. He is one of the smartest men that I've ever seen when it comes to this NBA executive stuff. With a team like the Toronto Raptors that a lot of people knew the only reason why they really won was Kawhi Leonard. That's not to say guys like Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam weren't necessarily reasons why they didn't win. We all know that if Kawhi didn't go there, then they wouldn't have had that one superstar that would have been able to help them. Which is why when Kawhi Leonard would inevitably leave to go to the Clippers, a lot of people thought, okay, this team is gonna just go to a rebuilding phase. But the fact that the Raptors are where they're at as a team right now is very impressive, and I think we should talk about it. Which ironically is what I'm doing right now in this video. I would like to argue this team right now might just be better than that Toronto Raptors team that won the championship because they're a lot more well-rounded, they have more stars. I think this team is bound to win a championship sooner or later. And one of the biggest reasons why has to be because of Masai Ujiri, so shout out to that man. In the Western Conference, I made several videos about the Memphis Grizzlies and saying why I think they're the sleepers or the wild card or dark horse team of the West. However, if we go over the East, I didn't really have a team at first that I thought, okay, this is a sleeper team. No one has this team doing anything. However, I think I gotta say, but the Toronto Raptors are the sleeper of the Eastern Conference. They may be the 7th seed right now. There's no doubt in my mind that if this team can make it to the playoffs, there is a legitimate chance this team could beat a team like the Sixers or the Bucks, which a lot of people think will probably not happen. However, I wouldn't doubt this team because it has some of the best depth that I've ever seen. They have so many talented players. On top of that, they have one of the best NBA executives. I gotta be honest, I think Toronto is really building something over there in the 6. They have the roster pieces that they need. They have a good young rookie in Scotty Barnes. They have some talented vets. They have some overall just talented players. It doesn't seem like a whole lot of people have that much confidence in this team, which I highly do not agree with because like I've said this whole video, they are honestly one of the most talented rosters. The last time the Toronto Raptors made the NBA Finals, a lot of people doubted them and they said there's no way this team is actually going to make it. However, I don't think doubting them this time is going to do you any good, and if I were an NBA fan, I would honestly watch out for the Toronto Raptors. In the words of Drake, someone that is a quote-unquote brand ambassador for the Toronto Raptors, started from the bottom, now we're here. And while they're at the bottom of the Eastern Conference right now, not exactly in the best position, they're inevitably going to get to the top, and I wouldn't worry about it, Raptor fans. You guys are going to be in safe hands for these upcoming years.